Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. I'm running a little late this morning. It is already 8:44, and we are in a code complete posture. Posture is a word they like to use in my domain a lot. My domain is the legislative process, and so I watch a lot of stuff on legislation, and I noticed one of the words they really like to say is posture. The posture we are in. So we got code complete on an effort, which was just a fully, just like a refactor. It wasn't adding in a new feature functionality or anything. It was literally just sort of taking a extra service that I thought was a bit too broad and breaking it down into smaller pieces, and distributing it and then getting rid of it because the top level one didn't make any sense anymore. So we have a bunch of changes for that, um, but and I, so one thing that's kind of new for me is that um, I haven't. This is the first project I've ever worked on where we have terminal. Let me see, um, where I have end-to-end testing support that I built out. I've worked in places and jobs before where we had end-to-end. I've never worked any place that had Cypress, but we had, I think, Playwright and um, uh, other like Java-based ones. And they just generally, I guess end-to-end tests have to be optimized, just like anything else. I'm gonna npm run Cypress. That's the end-to-end framework that I'm using. Open. Um, and so these end-to-end tests that I have developed right now are really focused around capturing uh, functionality, so that once the functionality has been built, I lock it in by creating a test that ensures that functionality still exists. And if it does, I mean, um, and so that's really the whole reason. But another big reason for end-to-end tests a lot of times is like maintenance. Like um, okay, so this one's up. Um, like you're trying to just check that things are running still, check that everything's still, like maybe there's thousands of them. Like at my job, we have legislation, and I think right now we have like 4,000 pieces of legislation that are sort of part of this, what's known as a biennium. And like it would be nice if we had like an end-to-end test that like checked every piece of legislation. But the thing is like running one test that kind of steps through all the legislation would take hours and hours and hours to run, and then that kind of defeats the purpose. Okay, so it looks like this. Well, okay, that's just a warning. Yeah, here we go. Um, so let's run this one. Um, so these end-to-end tests that I have are optimized around and not losing functionality. Um, I was going crazy at my job, really pushing end-to-end testing, and then all of a sudden, at one point, it dawned on me that our end-to-end testing, as we want to do, or the way I've come about doing these end-to-end tests would not be very feasible at my job. My job, we need to do something where the tests are a little bit more atomic, and then they sort of record their result so that we can look at as a report the next day. Um, so like where we have like 5,500 pieces of legislation, what would be nice is if we were like, okay, here's legislation piece one was tested on the first. It looks good at 8 a.m. It looked good. Legislation piece two was tested on the first at 8:01 a.m. It looked good, right? And just have that where it just goes through, and then maybe like if it failed, like legislation number 1000, we tried that on the fifth of the month at 9 a.m. and it failed. Okay, then we tried it again at, or then someone manually went and checked and sure enough it was working. It was just some glitch. And so, like something like that. It's just going to have to be more thought through. All right, so I'm running through my end-to-end tests. This is not what I have been doing lately. I've been doing like a commit and saying, hey, this is a code commit, then doing unit tests and then running end-to-end tests. But since this is only a refactor and it shouldn't have broken anything, um, I think it makes sense to run end-to-end tests now. And if a bug gets exposed, then go ahead and um, fix it. And if there are no bugs, then run unit tests, which there will be. I'm gonna need to do a lot of unit test work. So far it's looking good. That's pretty cool. All right, so this one tests our delete. Yeah, so I guess if I was creating a new feature, it would make more sense to do unit tests first. But where I'm just refactoring, I think it makes more sense to do end-to-end tests first. Because theoretically, we shouldn't need any end-to-end work. And then I almost feel like so the risk before was that what was happening was I ended up having a massive commit because every time I was doing anything, I was finding a rabbit hole, working down the rabbit hole, continuing to work. Um, all right, so let's go ahead and do tests. Now these are Karma Jasmine tests. If you're creating a brand new, like today is February 5th, 2026. And by the way, it's 31 degrees outside and cloudy. It's warmed up a little bit. 31 degrees, I think 2 weeks ago would have been like, I would have been crying like crazy on here. I did look outside though. I didn't see anything frozen. So I think I might be in a little microclimate that's a little warmer. Um, all right. So now npm run test. So this one takes a while to get going. And it's 8:52, so I have 3 minutes. Um, I don't. Well, no, well, I don't know. I was gonna say we're definitely gonna have some some unit tests fail, but now that I think about it, that isn't the case. It's not 100% chance there'll be a unit test fail because, like, we literally deleted the whole spec file that would have had unit tests fail. It's gone now. Um, so, and this always takes a minute. Okay, so it would not compile, which is not a big surprise. I can never tell. I think I want to start at the top. So so in this mesh surface spec, so I believe we just changed that to dot get mesh by stid. I think it was. Yeah, mesh by st mesh by id. All right, so that's one. I don't think this thing will just restart itself. Maybe that's a good thing now that I think about it. I used to think it was a bad thing. I think we're going to run into this a lot. Okay, so that's this one that we're just looking at. Okay, and that's where it thinks that it used to be. 3 animation service. So this is my 3 animation class. Oh, this is my class. This is so weird. I guess if I delete this, maybe I'll get a little blue guy here. Okay, let's see. Oh, maybe the name of it. Because I renamed, that's right, I renamed it from service to class. Yeah, I think I named this to class as well. So I think what happened was I built out this um, use the CLI to build out this class, but I called it a service, and then I just manually renamed it, which, I probably used the IDE to help me with that. All right. This is where things can kind of get confusing. Okay, so it looks like this. I think it was get stmesh. Oh, dot get mesh by stid. Mm, get mesh by st mesh id. I'll tell you though, it is probably one of the most absolutely most terrifying or frustrating. I don't know what the right word is. Feelings like when you're so close to being uh, accomplishing what you were supposed to accomplish for a given sprint, and then you're like held up by the fact that um, uh, unit tests are just completely gone sideways. I have like sort of adapted my mindset, and basically this code that I didn't have this mindset when I started this code that I just refactored. And the idea is that, oh, while I do unit tests is when I obsess about individual lines of code. So while I'm coding, I just can't get that deep into the weeds. I have to be like thinking more on an architectural perspective and just sort of get all the solutions to fit together and all that. And then like maybe during the PR process is kind of when you're like sitting at the top, just kind of making sure everything fits together okay. But like there's a point in time that you kind of just have to go down line by line and just say, okay, do I understand every single thing this line of code does? Am I sure it's not doing some kind of side thing that I'm not really considering while I'm writing this code, or while I'm doing things. A lot of times the code just doesn't necessarily, it's not clear what it does. And a lot of times it's just because it worked. So you got it working, but then it didn't. Oh man, come on. I have to log off here in a second. Just waiting. Oh, so it looks like it all transpiled. I mean, yeah, it all built out. So now we're going to see if they all pass. So passing is the second. So the first thing is getting them all to run. Second is getting them all to pass. Oh, looks like there is one failure. And it's upset that it couldn't find a provider for 3 animation class. That is fascinating. Should be created. Think what? Okay. 3 animation service. Okay, that I think is screwed up anyways, right? I think that's what I was just looking at over here. Okay, so let's change this to class. And I think I need it to be like this, and I don't even know this. I'm just trying it. Equals u3 animation class. And then I don't think we're trying to inject it. And I'm going to change this to class. And then, oops. Guess class must be a keyword, a reserved word in JavaScript. Okay, so I think that should solve this problem. So basically, it's not an injectable. You couldn't really it doesn't have the inject decorator in the class itself, right? So normally you'll have like a decorator here at the top. I think it's right before the export. It might be right before the constructor that makes it injectable. And since we did that, since we set that up, we couldn't. Okay, now it looks like one failed. I don't know. Yeah, let's hit refresh. All right, so now we have 100% passing. And so then the next question is, what is our code coverage? Oh, and it will tell us. That's right. Okay, so we fell. So we are not covering 23 lines of code, 3 branches, 8 functions, and 23 lines. So anyways, that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.